Today lesson you only need 10 tenses to speak English confidently, not 12. Hosts, James and Olivia. Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. I'm Olivia.
And I'm James. And today we are tackling one of the biggest sources of anxiety for English learners everywhere.
Ooh, dramatic. What is it?
Tenses.
Groans, oh no. Not the T word.
The T word. I know. Everyone's textbook has this terrifying chart, 12 tenses, arrows going everywhere, past perfect continuous, future perfect continuous. It looks like a subway map for a city that doesn't exist.
It really does. And here's the thing, I've been teaching English for, almost 10 years now.
Something like that, yeah.
And in real life, in actual conversations, native speakers are not sitting there thinking, ah yes, I shall now deploy the future perfect continuous. Nobody does that.
Nobody does that. So today's big idea, the whole reason we're recording this episode, is this: you do not need to memorize 12 tenses to speak English confidently. You need 10.
10. And honestly, of those 10, maybe 6 or 7 do about 90% of the work in daily conversation.
Exactly. So stick with us, because by the end of this episode, you're going to have a much smaller, much friendlier mental map of English tenses, and 2 tenses you can basically set aside for later, or forget about almost entirely if you're just trying to speak, not write academic papers.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's talk about why this chart even exists. Traditional grammar books split English verbs into 3 time frames: past, present, future, and then 4 aspects for each: simple, continuous, perfect, and perfect continuous.
3 times 4 equals 12.
Right. Mathematically neat. Pedagogically, a nightmare, honestly, for a lot of learners.
It's neat on paper, but language doesn't actually behave like a multiplication table. Some of those 12 combinations are used constantly, every single day, in every conversation. And some of them are so rare that a native speaker might use one maybe once a month, if that, and usually only in writing.
Right, and that's the disconnect. When a new learner sees all 12 treated as equally important, equally must master by Tuesday, it creates this false sense that fluency requires holding all 12 in your head at once, ready to fire, all the time.
And that's just not true. Fluency is much more about instinct with a smaller core set of patterns, plus the confidence to actually use them in real time, without freezing up.
So here's our approach today. We're going to walk through 10 tenses, the ones that genuinely carry the weight of everyday English, and along the way, we'll flag the 2 we're leaving out, and explain why you can safely deprioritize them, especially in speaking.
Deal. Let's start with the easiest place to start, the present. Present tense actually gives us 3 of our 10, present simple, present continuous, and present perfect.
Let's start with present simple, because honestly, this might be the single most useful tense in the entire language.
Agreed. Present simple is for facts, routines, and things that are generally true. I work in marketing. The sun rises in the east. She drinks coffee every morning.
And the structure is beautifully simple, that's kind of the point, right? It's in the name. Subject plus base verb, and you just add an S for he, she, it. I work, she works. That's basically it.
The only tricky part for a lot of learners is remembering that S in third person. He work versus he works. Tiny mistake, but it's one of those things that native speakers notice immediately, even if they don't say anything.
Totally. Let's do a quick example exchange. Olivia, ask me something in present simple.
Sure. James, what do you do on the weekends?
I usually go for a run on Saturday mornings, and then I read for a couple of hours in the afternoon.
See, notice, I usually go, I read, both present simple, because we're talking about routine, habitual actions, not something happening right this second.
Right, which brings us naturally to present continuous, sometimes called present progressive, depending on which textbook you grew up with.
This one is for actions happening right now, in this moment, or for temporary situations around now. I am talking to you right now. She's studying for her exam this week.
The structure is a plus verb plus ing. And honestly, this is one of the first tenses learners pick up because it's so visual. You can literally point at something happening and describe it.
Right, like, look, it's raining. He's cooking dinner. You can just narrate the world around you.
One thing I always tell my students, present continuous isn't just for this exact second. It's also for things that are true these days, even if they are not happening literally right now. I'm learning Spanish this year. I'm not learning Spanish at this exact moment, sitting here in this recording booth.
Well, are you though?
Not right now, no. But it's an ongoing project in my life at the moment, so present continuous fits.
That's such a good distinction, because a lot of learners think continuous only means literally happening this second, and then they get confused when they hear it used more broadly.
Exactly. Okay, third one in this group, present perfect.
The tense that causes the most confusion for a lot of learners, especially if their first language doesn't have anything similar.
It's true. Present perfect connects the past to the present. It's for experiences, or actions that happened at an unspecified time, or things that started in the past and continue now.
Structure, have or has plus the past participle. I have visited Paris. She has finished her homework. We have lived here for 5 years.
And the key emotional flavor of present perfect, if I can call it that, is that the exact time doesn't matter, or the action still has relevance right now. Compare, I visited Paris in 2019, present simple, past simple, specific time, versus, I have visited Paris, present perfect, no specific time. The point is just that the experience exists.
That's the cleanest way I've heard it explained, honestly. It's not about when. It's about relevance now.
And for duration, for 5 years, since 2020, present perfect is your go-to. I have worked here since 2018. Still working here now, started in the past, continuous relevance.
Let's do a mini practice round. James, tell me 3 true things about your life using present perfect.
Okay. I have lived in 3 different countries. I have never eaten sushi, which shocks people. And I have run 2 marathons.
Wait, you've never eaten sushi?
Never. Don't judge me.
I'm judging you a little. Okay, that's present covered, simple, continuous, perfect. 3 down, 7 to go.
Now let's move to the past. And here's where our 10, not 12, argument really starts to show itself.
Right, because traditionally you'd have past simple, past continuous, past perfect, and past perfect continuous. That's 4. We're going to keep 3 of those and gently set aside the 4th.
Let's start with past simple, because, like present simple, this one is a total workhorse. Completed actions at a specific time in the past.
I ate breakfast at 7. She called me yesterday. They moved to Chicago in 2015.
Structure-wise, regular verbs just add ed, walk becomes walked, play becomes played. Irregular verbs, unfortunately, you just have to memorize, go becomes went, eat becomes ate, see becomes saw.
And there are, around 200 common irregular verbs in English?
Something in that range, yeah, though honestly maybe 40 or 50 cover most of daily conversation. Go, see, have, do, say, get, make, those high-frequency ones are worth memorizing first.
Good tip. Okay, past continuous next. Structure, was or were plus verb ing.
This is for an action in progress at a specific past moment, often interrupted by another action. I was cooking dinner when the phone rang.
That one sentence pattern is honestly the single best way to practice this tense. Long action in past continuous, short interrupting action in past simple. She was walking to work when it started raining. We were watching a movie when the power went out.
It's such a natural storytelling pattern too. A lot of anecdotes in English use exactly this structure: set the scene with past continuous, then drop in the surprising event with past simple.
Totally. Okay, now past perfect, and this is where things get a little more advanced, but still genuinely useful, so it stays on our list of 10.
Past perfect is for their past before the past. When you're already talking about something in the past, and you need to refer to something that happened even earlier, that's past perfect. Had plus past participle.
By the time I arrived, the meeting had already started. The meeting starting happened before my arriving, and both are in the past, so we need that extra layer.
It's basically storytelling glue. It lets you jump backward in time within a past narrative without confusing your listener about the order of events.
Right, and here's where we hit our first tense to set aside: past perfect continuous. Had been plus verb ing. I had been waiting for 2 hours when she finally arrived.
And look, it's not that this is wrong, or that you'll never hear it. You will hear it, especially in more formal writing, or careful storytelling. But in everyday spoken English,
most native speakers just don't reach for it that often. They'll often simplify to past perfect or even past continuous and let context do the work. I'd been waiting for 2 hours often just becomes, in casual speech, I waited for 2 hours before she showed up, past simple, honestly, doing the job just fine.
So our advice: recognize past perfect continuous when you hear or read it, understand what it means, but don't stress about actively producing it yourself early on. It's a later tense, not a now tense, if you're prioritizing speaking fluency.
That's tense number 1 that we're setting aside. 1 down.
Okay, future tenses. And here's a fun fact that surprises a lot of learners: English doesn't actually have a single dedicated future tense the way, say, Spanish or French does, with its own verb endings.
Right, we build the future using helper words, will, going to, plus a few other tricks. So when people say future tense, they really mean a handful of different structures that all point forward in time.
For our purposes, we'll count 3: future simple with will, going to future, and future continuous. We'll set aside future perfect continuous, and we'll actually fold future perfect into a quick mention rather than a full deep dive, since it's used far less than the other future forms in daily speech.
Let's start with will. Structure: will plus base verb. This is used for spontaneous decisions, predictions, promises, and offers.
I'll help you with that: spontaneous offer, decided right in the moment. It will probably rain tomorrow, prediction. I will always love you, dramatic promise, maybe don't say that to your barrister.
Noted. Now, going to future, structure m/is/ are going to plus base verb. This is for plans and intentions that were decided before the moment of speaking, or for predictions based on present evidence.
I'm going to visit my parents next week, that's a plan, already decided. Versus, look at those clouds, it's going to rain, prediction based on evidence you can see right now.
That's actually the cleanest distinction between will and going to. Is the decision happening right now, in the moment, or was it already made beforehand? Spontaneous versus planned.
Exactly. And test question for you, Olivia, quick scenario. You're at a restaurant, you haven't looked at the menu yet, the waiter comes over and asks what you want.
I'll have the pasta. Will, because I'm deciding right there, on the spot.
Perfect. Now scenario 2, you've been planning this dinner with a friend for a week, and you already know exactly what you're going to order before you even walk in.
I'm going to get the pasta, going to, because the decision happened earlier.
Exactly right. Okay, last one in this group, future continuous. Will be plus verbing. Used for an action that will be in progress at a specific future time.
This time tomorrow, I'll be lying on a beach. Don't call it 8, I'll be having dinner.
It's less common than will or going to, but it comes up more than you'd think, especially when people are coordinating schedules. What will you be doing this weekend, is a very natural, casual question.
Totally agree, that one's genuinely useful. Now, future perfect and future perfect continuous. Structure for future perfect is will have plus past participle. By next year, I will have graduated. And future perfect continuous is will have been plus verb ing. By December, I will have been working here for 5 years.
And this is our second tense to set aside, future perfect continuous. It's grammatically correct, it exists, you'll encounter it occasionally in formal writing or very precise spoken explanations, but it is rare in everyday conversation. Most speakers, most of the time, will simplify.
Right, instead of by December, I will have been working here for 5 years, a lot of people would just say, by December, I'll have worked here 5 years, future perfect, simpler, still accurate, still natural. Or even just, I'll have been here 5 years by December, which honestly people say loosely without even thinking about which tense box it fits in.
That's such an important point actually, real speakers aren't running a grammar checklist in their heads. They are reaching for whatever construction gets the meaning across fastest and most naturally, and very often that lands on one of our 10 core tenses rather than the rarer combinations.
So to be clear about our count, we've got present simple, present continuous, present perfect, past simple, past continuous, past perfect, future simple with will, going to future, and future continuous. That's 9.
And we're rounding out the 10 with future perfect, not future perfect continuous, but the simpler future perfect, will have plus past participle. It's genuinely useful for talking about deadlines and milestones. I'll have finished the report by Friday, common enough in work contexts that it earns its spot, while its continuous cousin doesn't.
That gives us our 10, present simple, present continuous, present perfect, past simple, past continuous, past perfect, future simple, going to future, future continuous, and future perfect.
And the two we're deprioritizing, past perfect continuous and future perfect continuous. Recognize them, understand them when you encounter them, but don't feel obligated to actively master producing them if your goal is confident, natural speaking.
Okay, so I want to zoom out for a second, because I think the grammar breakdown is useful, but the real point of this episode is about confidence, right? That's literally in the title.
Right, and I think the connection is this: when learners believe they need to master 12 equally weighted tenses before they can call themselves fluent or confident, it creates a kind of perfectionism trap. You end up hesitating in real conversations because some part of your brain is still trying to figure out whether this moment calls for past perfect continuous.
And meanwhile, the person you're talking to is just waiting for you to finish your sentence.
Exactly. Nobody is grading you in real time. Native speakers make tense mistakes constantly too, especially in casual speech. They use present tense to narrate past events for dramatic effect. So yesterday, I'm walking down the street, and this guy just walks up to me.
Oh my gosh, yes, the storytelling present. So common, and technically not correct past tense usage at all.
Right, and nobody bats an eye, because communication is the goal, not a perfect grammar chart.
I think there's also a psychological benefit to just narrowing the list. 10 feels achievable. 10 feels like something you can actually drill, practice, get comfortable with, and then move on with your life. 12, with 2 of them being these long, clunky, perfect, continuous combinations, feels like homework that never ends.
And here's a practical tip for anyone listening who wants to actually build this into their speaking: don't try to learn all 10 in isolation, like flashcards. Learn them in pairs that get compared directly, the way we did today. Will versus going to. Past simple versus present perfect. Past continuous setting the scene, past simple dropping in the action. Comparison is how the differences actually stick.
That's such a good point, because in isolation, present perfect just sounds like a weird alternative to past simple. But side by side with a real distinction, specific time versus unspecified time and ongoing relevance, it clicks.
Another practical tip, pick one tense a week, and just listen for it. Watch a show, listen to a podcast, and every time you notice, say, past continuous being used, pause and think about why. What's the interrupted action? What's the ongoing scene setting? That kind of active noticing builds intuition way faster than memorizing rules.
I love that. It's basically training your ear the way you'd train it for music. You're not reading sheet music in real time while you play, you've internalized the pattern.
Exactly the right comparison, actually. Fluent tense usage is closer to a musical instinct than a math problem.
Should we do a rapid-fire recap? I think that'd be helpful for anyone who wants the short version.
Let's do it. I'll give the tense, you give the one-line meaning and an example. Present simple.
Facts and routines. I work from home on Fridays.
Present continuous.
Happening now, or a temporary current situation. I'm working on a new project this month.
Present perfect.
Past action, unspecified time, relevant now. I've finished the report.
Past simple.
Completed action, specific past time. I finished it yesterday.
Past continuous.
Action in progress at a past moment, often interrupted. I was finishing it when you called.
Past perfect.
The past before the past. I had already finished it by the time you called.
Future simple with will.
Spontaneous decisions, predictions, promises. I'll finish it tonight.
Going to future.
Prior plans, predictions from present evidence. I'm going to finish it this weekend, I already blocked out the time.
Future continuous.
Action in progress at a specific future time. I'll be finishing it around 8 tonight.
And future perfect.
A deadline or milestone completed by a future point. I'll have finished it by Monday.
Beautiful. 10 tenses, 10 sentences, all about the same imaginary report that apparently has been consuming Olivia's entire week.
It's a very demanding fictional report, yes.
Now, we don't want anyone thinking we're saying these two tenses are useless, ignore them forever.
Right, definitely not the message. Past perfect continuous and future perfect continuous absolutely exist, and you will run into them, in novels, in news articles, in more formal or academic writing, and occasionally in careful spoken explanations, especially when someone is being very precise about durations leading up to a specific past or future moment.
So here's our actual recommendation. Learn to recognize them, understand what had been doing and will have been doing mean when you read or hear them. That's a receptive skill, and it's genuinely useful.
But don't put pressure on yourself to actively produce them in conversation, especially early on. If you find yourself reaching for one, it's almost always fine, and often more natural, to simplify to past perfect, present perfect, past simple, or future perfect instead.
I had been studying for 3 hours can very naturally become, I'd studied for 3 hours, or even just, I studied for 3 hours before the exam in casual conversation, and nobody's going to think there's anything wrong with that.
So think of them as bonus tenses. Tier 2. Nice to have, not need to have, especially if speaking confidence, not academic writing, is your priority right now.
That's a great way to frame it. Tier 1, the 10 essentials, and Tier 2, the 2 extras you can pick up later, once the core 10 feel automatic.
Should we take a couple of listener questions? I know we got some good ones about this topic specifically.
Yeah, let's do it. First one is from a listener who asks, and I'm paraphrasing, how do I know when to use present perfect instead of past simple? I mix them up all the time.
Such a common question, and honestly one of the trickiest distinctions for a lot of learners, especially if their first language handles this differently. The core test I always give people, does the sentence include, or imply, a specific finish time?
So if you can imagine adding yesterday, last week, in 2019, at 3 o'clock, that specific time flavor, you want past simple.
Right. I saw that movie last weekend, past simple, specific time. But I've seen that movie, no specific time mentioned. The point is just that the experience happened, and it's relevant to right now, maybe because you're currently discussing whether to watch it again.
Another trick, certain words basically flag present perfect. Ever, never, already, yet, just, since, for. When you hear those, present perfect is very often the natural choice. Have you ever been to Japan? I've just finished. I've lived here for 10 years.
And certain words flag past simple, yesterday, last night, ago, in a specific year, when I was a kid.
That's a great practical shortcut actually. Let the time words guide the tense choice, rather than trying to reason it out from scratch every single time.
Next question, someone asked, is it okay to just use past simple for everything and skip past continuous and past perfect?
Honest answer, you'll be understood, mostly, but you'll lose some precision and some naturalness, especially around storytelling. If everything is past simple, your stories can end up sounding a little flat, a little list-like. I woke up, I ate breakfast, I left for work, it started raining.
Versus, I was eating breakfast when it started raining. The past continuous gives you that sense of an ongoing scene interrupted by something, which is honestly how humans naturally tell stories. So it's not that past simple alone is wrong, it's that mixing in past continuous and past perfect makes your English sound more textured, more like a native storyteller.
Good way to put it. Last question, do I need to know the passive voice too? Is that a whole other tense?
Good question, and quick clarification, passive voice isn't technically a separate tense, it's a different structure you can apply across most of the tenses we covered today. The report was written is past simple passive. The report has been written is present perfect passive.
So it's more like a different lens you can apply to the tenses you already know, rather than an 11th or 12th item to add to the list. Worth learning, definitely, but it builds on the 10 tenses rather than sitting outside them. So, to bring it all together, the 12 tense chart that scares so many learners is real, technically, but it's not the most useful way to think about building spoken confidence.
10 tenses will cover the overwhelming majority of what you say and hear in everyday English: present simple, present continuous, present perfect, past simple, past continuous, past perfect, future simple, going to future, future continuous, and future perfect.
And past perfect continuous and future perfect continuous, recognize them, understand them, but don't stress about actively using them until the core 10 feel completely natural.
If you take one thing away from this episode, let it be this: fluency isn't about memorizing every grammatical possibility English offers. It's about having a smaller, reliable toolkit that you can use instinctively, without freezing up mid-sentence.
Exactly. And that instinct comes from practice, from noticing patterns when you listen and read, and from actually using these tenses out loud, even imperfectly, over and over again.
So this week's challenge for anyone listening: pick 2 tenses from today's list that you feel least confident with, and try to use each one at least 5 times today, out loud, even just talking to yourself.
Great homework. All right, that's it for today's episode.
Thanks so much for listening, everyone. If this helped clear things up, share it with a friend who's also learning, and we'll catch you next time.
See you next time.